probably been seeing the Hyundai Kona for a while now, but I feel like when it launched, it was very sudden. I saw the press release, looked at the pictures, heard that it was coming to market, and checked the announcement details on Hyundai's littlest crossover as Kona was gearing up for arrival. I remember thinking to myself that it was like the Tucson's little brother, but with a weird-looking face. About 5 hours later, I started seeing Hyundai Konas everywhere. I went shopping, and there were 4 of them in the parking lot, 2 more at the gym later. Everyone seemed to be snatching them up. Turns out, Hyundai had to ask their Kona factory to ramp up output to meet the surprisingly strong demand. If you're wondering, Kona is a place in Hawaii. In China, the Kona is called the Encino for some reason, and in Portugal, the Kona is called the Kauai because Kona sounds similar to a Portuguese genital word slang. And that one-of-a-kind mug does something important by standing out and conveying Kona's identity from a glance in a very crowded sales segment. On board, it's mostly economy car feel to the trimmings, hard plastic everywhere but assembled nicely with good use of textures and accenting colors to liven things up. If you like goodies, you will like a Kona Ultimate like this tester very much. The steering wheel is heated, finished with accent stitching, and sits behind a modern and informative set of instruments that are nicely lit and easy to read. There's even a little display screen that's customizable and even repeats your selection for lights and wipers. The central touchscreen is bright and nicely animated, colorful, vivid, very responsive, and very straightforward. Pair your phone and spend 10 minutes learning the system. It won't cause you any stress. The screen doubles as a high-resolution backup camera, and radar alerts are provided if you're backing up when there's traffic approaching from the side, which is a nice touch as well. There's a power driver's seat, big sunroof, punchy infinity stereo, heated leather, push-button start, and automatic lights too. And I loved the wireless charging pad, which recharges your compatible handset without a cord when you toss it into this little cubby on the center console. The cargo hold is not enormous, but it should swallow 3 or 4 small bags fairly easily. Seatbacks fold 60-40 and almost fully flat. Lift the cargo cover out of the way, and you can stuff some taller gear in as needed. At about 5'10", I could just fit in the rear seat of the Kona without feeling like I was wearing it, but larger adults than I will do best to be sitting up front. Here, there's adequate room for you and your things, and clever nearby storage galore. You feel like you're sitting in an average-sized small car, but in a more upright position, with a better forward view and a little higher off the ground. And here's the best thing about the Kona, though. It's little and light, and comes with a beastie little turbo engine if you order it. The available 1.6-liter turbo engine is good for 175 horsepower and nearly 200 pounds of torque. Those numbers make Kona the sportiest thing in this segment by a hefty margin in most cases, and also make it properly saucy when you give it a big old boot full of gas. If that's not your style, the 1.6T is also relatively quiet, very smooth, and otherwise nicely behaved if you're just putting around town. The ride is another very strong point. Sporty looks and engine aside, Kona does not ride as if it's been overly stiffened up to jack up the handling. Simply what feels to be a carefully specified layer of softness around the very edges of the suspension adds refinement and smoothness over certain surfaces that can often coax smashing and crashing sensations from beneath. Against most similar models I've driven, Kona feels more comfortable on more surfaces more of the time. In the snow, the all-wheel drive system acts fast and predictably. Mostly it just does a great job at finding any available traction on any surface, using it well, and doing that without you feeling, hearing, or sensing much of anything from the driver's seat. There's an all-wheel drive lock mode that drivers can engage for additional preemptive traction when required. I took one of these around an off-road testing course back in the fall. If you'll use your Kona on an off-road trail, it's unlikely, but try it out, you will find it's easy to maneuver, easy to evade obstacles with, and stiff enough to pivot on 3 wheels without any creaking from the bodywork. A few final points. First, Kona is just fine in side winds and not easily pushed around. Second, if you're cross-shopping, you'll find its noise levels at higher speeds at about the average in this segment. Finally, outward sight lines are good up front, and most drivers will be able to see the edge of the hood. Outward sight lines aren't as great in the rear, but the clear and bright backup camera display helps to compensate. I left the Kona without any major gripes. I do figure that the interior could do with some more upscale materials to replace some of the crispy plastic, and on some surfaces, though the suspension stays relatively refined, it can become fairly noisy. So here's a machine that just does what it's supposed to do, does it well, and does it with an eye for unique looks, a sporty and refined drive, and plenty of great content. With all-wheel drive, Kona starts in the low 20s. Thanks for watching. you.